and welcome back to Smells Like Teen Angst. And we are here to talk about Gossip Girl, episode 5. That's the wrong button. God. So, before we get started, I'm going to introduce my panel of people so I can get it in the right order this time. First up, we have Shawn from Lost in the Real. Say hi!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 5 of Gossip Girl. My name is Shawn from Lost in the Real. And you can find me at Lost in the Real on Instagram and Twitter as well. But my main thing is my YouTube channel. So check me out there where I go over movies, television shows, all of that good stuff, and all of the hidden gems that you haven't found yet, but you should definitely check them out.
Absolutely. And then I've got the one, the only, Keiki.
Hi, guys. We are here to talk about episode 5 of Gossip Girl. Of course, you guys all know that you can find me at The Life of Keiki on all the social medias, but where the real information is at Smells Like Teen Angst. It's always going to be at SLT. Okay? That's it. Bye-bye.
Yes, that's how you do it. Before we get started, what? He's like, Sarah,
So
you're
cute.
on a
I love
tonight. So before we get started, as always, we're going to talk about some of your comments. So, comment, maybe you'll get chosen. I don't know. First, we got Henrietta, who came in clutch because all of us were very confused about this. The clue about their names, Elizabeth, Jane, is a reference to the Jane Austen book, Pride and Prejudice. In the book, the Elizabeth and Jane are sisters. It's supposed to be the secret message for them that they are supposed to be sisters. So there it is. We were very lost in what the clue was.
Thank you, girl.
You. Because
I was not smart enough for that one.
No.
I don't think I've ever actually seen or read Pride and Prejudice, so appreciate it. And then we have, I want to say Kevin, Max, Aki, Audrey are in Euphoria. Obie, Zoya, Julian are in that High School Musical TV show, which is called High School Musical, the musical, the series. And Monet and Luna are somewhat close to the OG Gigi, but more comically evil. The teachers think they're in an indie hit, but they're really just the worst of Glee.
That was me, but also facts.
Yes, facts, exactly. This is what we've all been feeling put into one comment. So thank you.
Yes. Oh, man, like I had a comment on my review of the first 4 episodes that Shawn and I also both got to watch and did our own separate reviews, and everyone's like, the show is just like right there. It's so close to greatness, and it's just like, so I felt like that.
Standing on the edge of great.
Standing on the edge of great. Are we doing Julia the Phantom? Another great show that's so good. And then we have Race Hanslow. I apologize if I butchered that, y'all. I don't know if this sounds weird, but like if you cut out the sex, etc., from Aki and Audrey's relationship, for me, it gives very much brother and sister vibes, or at least I see them more as close friends, which is something we've all kind of hit on in the last 4 episodes so far, that the relationship is very stale and innocent and
Yeah, and I think this episode hits on that a lot and my feelings. I hadn't seen that comment until tonight, but I think as we get into the episode, I definitely want to go over that because I think it's more valid than ever in this episode.
I agree. Keiki, thoughts?
I think it's super true. I mean, when it comes to high school, the stakes in a relationship are a lot lower. So I feel like every type of love in high school is kind of a platonic plus sex thing. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on where you go with it. But I totally see it. I see it. I understand where they're coming from.
Where they're coming from. Tonight, I want to actually start with Gossip Girl out of all the characters, because Gossip Girl had a very interesting arc this episode, whether it was Kate, whether it's the other teachers, because episode 5, it's Halloween. There's going to be a Halloween party, and a kid who was bullied because of a Gossip Girl post brings a gun to school, and that's hugely relevant to, I think, kids today and the school shootings that we do have. And, Kate kind of has like a come to Jesus moment in a way, and like the other teachers are like, what do you mean? And they're totally like justifying in their heads why what they're doing is okay. And she's like, we did this. We're the ones who allowed people to bully this child so far that he brought a gun to school. What do you guys think of that? Like the whole Gossip Girl guilt trip that they went on.
Starting that Gossip Girl network between the teachers and kind of sharing what they did, multiple schools, etc. I feel like most of the blame is on that hand of the school, not the teachers. And I'd like to think that the teachers at Constance might have some wherewithal of like what the hell they should post and shouldn't post.
But they don't.
But they don't. Problem. So, these teachers are creating their own web of mess and lies. And yeah, it's relevant for a reaction like this from a student, but I mean, it could have been just as relevant in the previous Gossip Girl, right?
Like, I mean, as
we had school shootings then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like this conflict feels like it's actually earned, and we're getting an actual story arc with these teachers and this whole Gossip Girl thing that we've kind of been complaining about, because we're like, why are they doing this just because they don't want to be bullied? We're actually seeing the ramifications of that, which is really interesting. And then when they take it down, or sorry, what's her name? What do we call her?
Kate?
Kmart K-Bell?
Oh, yes. That's what I call
her. When she takes it down, it shows how much control someone can have over social media, and she was able to take that away from them. So the power is fluctuating throughout this episode, and we see, Kmart K-Bell go through a whole kind of crazy character story arc throughout this whole episode, which I appreciated because we needed that.
Yeah, I agree. And even the news was blaming Gossip Girl for this kid who was going to come to school and have a shooting. That sounds so silly, but he was going to use the gun at school. And I think that I appreciate that we didn't have a school shooting, because that storyline has been done. And I don't think that was the point that they were trying to make. I think that they were trying to have a sense of conscience, a way of bullying, but like how bullying really does cause this for some people. And Gossip Girl does have a hand in that. And I think it's really interesting that in the end, she's like, I'm done. And then Zoya's father's like, hey, can you tutor my daughter? And she's like, I've just been given an offer. I cannot refuse. I'm now on the inside. And I think the post that she does is really fantastic, where she's like, I'm not your mom. I'm not your brother. I am not your teacher. They are. And she's like, and I am not going to allow you to comment. My voice is the only one that matters. And she wipes the entire thing clean. And now it'll just be whatever they post. And I think that leaves a really big opening and like perks my interest and curiosity of where this show is going to go with Gossip Girl.
Yeah, I feel like this episode has opened up a can of worms for so many things to happen that I actually wanted to happen, and this is one of those things. I think we got to see Kmart K-Bell, actually be someone we understand who she is and why she is doing what she's doing. So I don't know. The teachers are warm. I'm warming up to the teachers a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. I can agree with that. I'm warming up to the teachers and understanding why they need to be unnecessarily weave into the storyline. But I don't like there being so many hands in the pot with Gossip Girl. I'm glad she took back control. I'm hoping with wiping the whole site clean, maybe it's going to hint at kind of a more exclusive one post type of situation, airing something and make it a little bit bigger. Like we're waiting to see what she posts instead of people having receipts, Because that's really what the Instagram is.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see what is important enough for her to post. Like, what now is the bar? Because she was so upset about the teachers posting about Zoya and Obie, and like the goofy teacher who was like making memes of like lonely Obie. You know what I mean? And I thought that was hilarious, but that's also my kind of like humor. So I'm just really curious. As you said, Shawn, this is just one of the many like cans of worms that are just like, there's a lot of these little Pandora boxes I feel like that have opened in this episode that I'm very, very excited for.
Yes.
Speaking of another little can of worms, we were introduced to girls from Constance. We've got 2 other rivals. No one saw it. No one saw it.
Oh my God, they totally did. Things are happening here.
You okay? You good?
It's a struggle. It's an issue. It's getting rectified, I think. Maybe.
Everybody hold. I'm just going to play some hold music real quick.
Elevator music, yes.
Are you ready, Keiki? Are you?
I'm back.
And we're back to our regularly scheduled program. We were introduced to 2 girls from a rival school, which I liked because now Zoya and Julian are trying to be besties, and Monet and Luna are not super having it. And we learn about like Pippi Longstocking and Bianca is what I'm calling her. These 2 girls that are basically who we all want Julian to be. Like I feel like they're the Julian we hear about. And I'm really excited to kind of see where they go. We can dive more into them as we get into like the Halloween party later. But I just want to know like your initial like impression of hearing about these girls and meeting them for the first time.
I'm glad to get off, the students of Constance who aren't giving us what we want back, as well as the parents and the teachers. Like, please bring in some new blood because there's just too little for me to go off of right now.
Yeah.
Which
too
they're
much
doing
and
in this
too little.
They've given us, not enough with these characters. And now we're given these 2 beezies. And I like them because they're basic, but like at the same time you can see why, they like why they're doing what they're doing, and like there's like someone that Julian can compete with. So as much as I don't like them, I think they're good for the show.
Agreed. Like I knew exactly who they were right off the bat, even before I met them. And I appreciated that because we need that because we still don't know who a lot of our main cast members are. And now I want to dive into Max because this episode started with Max and Ruffy. And I was like, oh, this is what we're doing? This is what we're doing. So if you haven't watched, I'm going to spoil it for you because that's where we're at. We get to see Rafa standing there, eyes closed, and Max is giving him oral sex at school in a closet with the door open. Like,
I prefer the word fellatio.
I prefer the word blowy. So thank you.
Y'all are silly. Max was giving Ruffy fellatio. Like, that's what that sounds like in my head. And they're like, and they're just like sitting there talking about plans for tonight and like also reminiscing on all the things they've already done. So they're setting up the point that this has been going on for a hot minute. They didn't give us a pure time frame, but it's been at least a few weeks is what I'm going to go with. And it's really kind of disgusting. And I appreciate, because I've done the deep Reddit dive, and no one is here for this storyline, just like we are not here for this storyline. And the way that it took a turn at the Halloween party, we find out that this is Rafa's MO. Like, Max is not the first seven. And we also find out from Aki that he is 17. There has been a debate online and in our comments about how old Max is, and he is 17. Aki dropped that nugget. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Aki. that 17 is the age of consent in New York. He's still in high school and a junior in high school or senior in high school. I don't know how this works now. But apparently Rafa's MO is to hook up with a senior student, a high school student every year. And he learns from one of the ex-boys that he did this to. And he like has this whole like change of heart, whatever. But my issue is, on top of us not wanting this storyline to begin with, that if we're going to make the teacher out to be this big groomer, this big villain, they have failed at doing so.
Yes.
Absolutely failed. The story doesn't support it. This all comes from left field. And he even like, you know, and not, I hate the line where he's like, you were pursuing me. Like any kind of, like it could have been this fantastic grooming storyline. And I feel like the writers have failed us completely and failed students who might be going through something like this completely. I don't know how y'all feel, but that's where I'm at.
My feelings.
Yes.
If we are going to villainize these teachers, you have to give them a story before you give a background story. We had nothing to go off of. And right now, the only teachers we should want to see taken down is like Kate and whatever the little librarian and her little other two little minions are who are running Gigi. But we know that this teacher, Rafa, whatever, has absolutely nothing to do with Gigi. So it's like, why are we going to take him down when we really don't know much about him? Just that he's the gay teacher and Max has been going after him. There was no setup and it just kind of all came out of left field and it's just happening. Them getting together in the first place was already like a stab because he was so adamant on the no. And then them being together in this episode and then hearing his backstory in this episode, it's like, okay, well, what we've seen doesn't really match what you're telling us. And that's the issue.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of issues with this. My first initial thought was, oh, wow, the creators and the showrunners, the writers are trying to course correct because they realized this was a terrible idea to begin with. And then they are like, okay, let's just get rid of this character really quickly by having a storyline come out of left field and then be like, oh, like this all happened. And then in one episode he's done with, you know? So instead of that actually having any sort of merit, now that storyline is just gone and there was no reason for it to begin with. So it's even worse. So I saw what they were trying to do with it. I'm glad it's gone, but I felt like it was handled in it was just mishandled in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And sure, you want to say like Max coming for him and him saying, no, could have been like a manipulative tactic. Cause now we've learned he is a gaslighting, manipulative man who like is a predator, but it's not enough for me. No. You know, coming from other stories, like we've used these examples before, but like coming off something like a teacher, coming from
Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars, thank you. I'll go back to Dawson's Creek, to Euphoria. Like, it was done really poorly, and it was done by someone. It just feels like someone who had a fantasy and wrote about it and just didn't care with the follow through or the, any way to back it up.
Why throw this in here if you had nothing to say about it? And that's what makes me upset, because now it's gone and I'm happy, but now I'm like, I'm also upset on a different level because they had nothing valid to say about this situation and why it was even here in the first place.
Exactly. Other than to, I guess, maybe do some more Max character building. But I feel like his father's relationship falling apart is more than enough. Because we get that like heartbreaking moment when Aki calls Gideon and he answers the phone and he's like so tragically sad and shares that his husband moved out officially. And I feel like that's more than enough to give this poor boy enough character building at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. I was so happy to see Gideon again, and they're like not just like throwing those characters away, that those characters are still going to play a part. His dads are going to play a part still. So I was really happy to see that. I agree with you, Sarah, but what are your thoughts, Keiki?
No, it's sad because in this episode in particular, I was so invested in the people that I don't really think the show is about, which is, the parents and what they're doing and these new girls. And I was just like, I'm more concerned about that story, what Audrey did to her mom, what happened between Keiki and Audrey. Keiki, her name's Keiki. But I was so invested in those stories this episode and learning so much there that it almost felt like unfair that this show is called Gossip Girl, because it just feels so like Lifetime movie right now.
But
I feel you. Let's dive into Audrey. She was actually next on my list. She and her mom, like we learned the last time we saw her, her mother, Keiki, was played by the fabulous Laura Benani, who I've been in love with forever, is selling the business, selling the house, moving back to Connecticut, and taking Audrey with her. And she's like, excuse me? No. So like Audrey tries to do this, like, I thought it was really funny that Audrey's like getting advice from Zoya on how to manipulate her parents. I thought that was really cute. And she throws this like fabulous dinner party to try and remind her mom of why she loves New York. And it really backfires. And then her mother tries to commit suicide. And I'm like, oh, dang. And so like the episode ends with her getting the phone call, going to the hospital, and everyone leaving this party to be with her, even Max. And I'm like, okay, we're finally getting some meat to this character, kind of, sort of, slowly but surely. Yeah.
I liked it because it gave more of a parallel to a parent and child relationship. Kids are very much like, my friends always make me feel better. Like, happiness can solve everything. And her mom's like, I'm over here mentally struggling. Like, we're going bankrupt. Like, the business is gone. Your father is gone. Like, all these things, she's going through and needs to work through. And instead of encouraging her mom and being there for her mom, she's trying to force her mom out of what she's going through.
Right.
And it backfired. So I appreciated seeing that, like, dichotomy of like, it can't all be fixed with sunshine and happiness. And also just giving the audience a reason to kind of get off of Kiki's back, because all we've ever seen from her is, she's an alcoholic and she's an unpresent mother and all these things that kind of villainize her. And in this episode, we learn so many more of the reasons of why, she is the way she is and where she's at in this situation. And it comes off more like, to me, like, well, Audrey's the one who's struggling. Not her. Audrey needs to understand that it's a process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with this storyline where episode 2 failed, I think that this episode succeeded. I actually feel for Audrey now, or not feel for her, but I understand her now, and I understand her mother better. So it's not the like, oh, like poor Audrey. No, that's not how I feel at all. But like, I actually get a little bit of who she is more, because I feel like we've just seen this super like basic side of her. So we understand who she is and what she's all about and how she's become this way. And I think that it leads into a Lifetime story situation. But another thing I want to bring up really quickly is something that I loved about this episode, and it was them back at that bar in Brooklyn.
At the Dumbo bar, the Dumbo room, or whatever it's called.
Yes. So them back there finally, and I now finally felt like they were friends again. Like, they're actually people who liked each other. They felt so disconnected these last couple of episodes. I now finally felt like they were all like in the same circle again. And so I really liked that scene and how Zoya talked to Audrey, even though it might not make sense that she's getting, advice from Zoya, at least, I don't know, that scene was really effective for me, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think it made sense in the moment because she's like, oh, Zoya manipulated her dad. She's who I should talk to in order to manipulate my mom. And I think it was one of the strongest Zoya scenes. Like we can jump into, I don't know if there's much more to say about Audrey. If there is, please interrupt me. But we can jump into Zoya because I feel like she's kind of had it. She and Obie, like Obie came alive in this episode, finally.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoya like had the best moment at that bar when Pippi Longstocking and Bianca rolled up. And she's like, whoever you are. And all the entire group of girls, even Monet, was rather impressed. And so was I. So there it is. I see you, girl. Appreciate it. And she's now met this boy on the bus who I call Lonely Boy too, because like she's got a type. And she's like, oh, I relate to him. And like she's now coming for Obie and his woke richness, for lack of a better term. She's like, why go see someone talk when you have the ability to make change? And I think her criticisms of Obie are pretty valid because like she's like, I wish I could remember exactly what she said. Maybe you guys remember. It was beautiful. It was great. She's like, I don't know if he actually means what he says or just feels like he should, or something like that. You know what I mean?
He doesn't
like
take action.
Like
he just says these things because he has to.
Yeah. And I was like, oh. So I kind of love that. And we learned they've been together for like a month, and like the rose-colored glasses are gone. Like the representatives have taken a lunch break, and now they are exactly their real people. And Obie doesn't know if he likes her, and she doesn't know if she actually likes him. And I think that's great. I just hope it's not setting up a breakup for them in order for Julian and Obie to get back together.
No, thank you.
That's just wrong. That's nasty.
Yeah.
We've already done the switch. Let's not do the switch back. Let's save us all the cringe.
I know.
All the cringe. We're okay. We're good.
Yeah. And I was just like, I feel a little bad for him in that, like, she's like, can you not put your arm around me in front of Julian? Like, at this point, Julian's giving her blessing. Be as affectionate as you want to be.
We've already played this game. She's already given you her blessing. Like, we've gone back and forth. Like, just do it, girl, if you're going to do it.
I know.
But I felt like a comment like that was kind of like Zoya owning up to how weird it feels for her now that she's trying to be in this circle and date him. And also that it was like maybe a little bit of Zoya kind of coming to her own realization that maybe she's not as in this relationship as she wants to be. And maybe she cares a little bit more about appearances than she let on to be. Like, she knows Gigi's watching and she wants it to look a certain way at all times, kind of like Julian.
She's blending into that world very much so. And Obie doesn't like it and I just kind of think it's amazing. Like, Shawn, what do you think of like the Zoya Obie thing that's going on right now?
Well, when she walked into that bar, I was like, damn, she looks good. First and foremost, in those leather overalls. I'm like, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling her look right now.
It was a vibe. I really liked it.
Yeah, and it's like she's coming in here like a badass bitch. And then we got a comment recently about how Zoya might become the mean girl and Julian would become, and then we kind of talked about later that Julian might lose popularity, and we want to see that. And that moment when she called Pippi Longstocking out was so good because I just felt like that's what's happening. Like, she's becoming mean girl Zoya. We're seeing her come into her own, and she might become the villain. And now Julian's losing her popularity, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. She's losing a little bit of her squad too. So I think Zoya was one of the best parts of this episode. When it comes to her and Obie, I think this just shows what like surface level relationship that they have. They had one thing in common, and it was activism, and now they're kind of seeing who they are slowly by surely. So I don't know. I'm not on their train to be in a relationship, but I think it's progressing in an effective way. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Same. I think it's heading in a fun direction. And also, like, to jump ahead to the Halloween party a little bit, I like to see this manipulative, conniving, like, I know people, I'm a rich kid, like string pulling that Obie did by calling, like, figuring out who that guy was, calling his magazine editor friend, putting them all in the same room, and then kind of showing Zoya, like, girl, you're being played because you may think you know how this world works. I try to stay out of it, but let me teach you. Let me show you something. Let me learn you something. And I was like, this is the level I need from Obie at all times. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, girl, would you have listened? The answer is no.
No.
So I personally love that moment. I don't know about y'all, but I was like, this is the Obie I want at all times. Don't pretend to be someone you're not, because this is who you are.
I appreciate his stalker vibes. I appreciate making sure that the people around his people check out, you know? And, you know, giving Zoya the space to kind of explore that. Like, oh, I found someone who's like me, and not just like, they could have so easily thrown a fight into this episode between the two of them because of her, like, getting up and talking to him, and they didn't, which I feel like is a level of maturity that we don't often see in these types of shows. So great.
He was more so like, who is that? I don't know if I like it. I don't know him. You know, I feel like these kids at these schools all know each other. And this was an outsider. He was like, I don't like it. So, she can be mad all she wants. I appreciate it.
Yeah, she can be mad all she wants. Zoya's been mad enough times in this show already. We can deal with it again. But I liked this Simon character, and I thought he was interesting, and I liked there being this conflict between her and Obie, because it was just like, you know, butterflies and sunshine between the two of them these last 4 episodes. So I was a little bit sad that it came to a close so quickly. I think it would have been a little bit more effective for them to have dragged this relationship on, maybe just even one more episode, but that finale of Obie being like, I caught you in your act, I know who you are, I think it would have been a little bit more effective for me. But besides that, I love seeing Obie taking charge and showing, you know, his status and who he is, and like, hey, I know you, you're this magazine editor, you know, or whatever, you know, she is, and like just a person of power in the New York scene. So to take her and show Zoya what's up, I really like that.
Me too. So let's dive into this Halloween party. So everyone has to dress as like a famous couple, and all these couples are getting thrown around. And like Audrey's like, I'm assuming when she says Greta and whomever, is that like Greta Gerwig? Is that who that's supposed to be? Greta Garbo? Who is she supposed to be?
Greta and Noah Baumbach.
Okay, so I was like, I don't know who. And they're going to go as Beyonce and Solange from the infamous elevator scene when Jay-Z was caught cheating on Beyonce and Solange took him to town. And if you've never seen that video, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. And they get there and they see that everyone is dressed like them, with the exception of Pippi Longstocking and Bianca, who are dressed as Blair and Serena, the ultimate frenemies. And I was trying to find a photo of like the original outfits, and I couldn't find it because I wanted to post it. But yeah, and then they did this like quick change to become
Chuck and Nate.
And not Nate. It was, oh God, what's his name? The guy who is Gossip Girl. How have I Penn Badgley?
Oh, Dan.
Dan. They were
Chuck
Dan and Nate. Yeah, Chuck and Dan. And I love that she was like, I'm Chuck Bass. And she like tried to do it to like stall their costume. So it was kind of cute to see them work together, come together, and do this thing together. If we're going to make them besties, let's make them besties.
Yes. There was no wishy-washy with Julian in this episode. It felt like she was on board at the beginning. Yes, and she was on board with Zoya at the end. And I'm like, thank God we're not seeing this, you know, this crap again. Like, I'm so happy to see, you know, Julian coming into her own and, you know, just not being a wishy-washy lady.
Yeah, exactly. But then we find out that like Monet, as we know, has been working both sides from day one. And now she's kicked out of the crew because she's the one who let them know and sold them out And I'm like, okay, finally, some little drama, some like almost there, interesting drama. Like it wasn't big enough to be like, ooh, but it was like, okay, something is slowly happening, you know?
Yes, but I still don't understand Monet's motivation, and it kind of kills it for me. Nothing against her. She does a fabulous job at what she's doing, but like, I don't get what she gains from it.
No, it's her whole thing is
Inquiring
like
minds want to know
where I'm going. I know they try to like explain it, and Luna's like, I have a job at this spot regardless, like you do too. And she's like, it's always been a game. It's always been this.
The moment she sees Julian losing traction is the moment she's like, oh, I'm out. I'm going to the next most popular thing. That to me is why Monet did what she did. Why
is it enough?
She was with Julian for years though, you know, like why would she just like, oh, they're bigger now. Like, I don't know. That didn't make sense.
That's why I say it's like not fully there. It's not super big drama. I'm like, it's set up for big drama? Question mark.
None of it gives enough motivation. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, which we've all been talking about. Like, no motivation, no nothing. I forgot what I was gonna say. And like you have this boy, like just to kind of jump back to Zoya a little bit, like the reporter was trying to say that she was Gossip Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like,
people would think that maybe because it's all about Zoya and Julian, you know, like why is she always on Gossip Girl? Is it to promote her own self?
Right. Are you obsessed? Is it whatever? Yeah.
So I just don't see how Gossip Girl's a big enough thing though for someone who's working at the New Yorker to want to take it down and waste their life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's so much of a take it down versus just like know who they are. And I think it's just because of like the whole student bringing a gun to school story. It became national news, you know, that became national news. So the New Yorker would want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Everyone always wants to know who Gossip Girl is. Yeah. Like what else happened? That was kind of basically it. Oh, Aki confronting the teacher. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. I was like, good job, Aki. You like got it together. You girded your loins and you went and confronted the teacher at the bar, but then learned that you were playing an adult game.
The teacher played the game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
did play the game.
He played the game. And I was like, wow, this man is a villain. Like, he wasn't just swayed by Max's little baggy, cute sexiness baby thingy. Like, he knows the game he's playing.
Yeah.
That is true.
And I was like, Aki learned that he was playing an adult's game and he wasn't ready.
Yeah. I thought that I wrote Max's thoughts about Aki when they had their conversation in like at school. He's like, you know, Audrey is, you know, now like you're back together. Audrey doesn't want anything to do with me. And now you realize that you're just being boring and basic without me. And to me, I'm like, he's being really horrible to his friend, but at the same time, he's being a little truthful to how I feel, because I do think that this character is a little bit boring and basic. They haven't given us anything about him. So it was good to see him confront the teacher at school, but I still need them to give me more Aki. And I just think they're doing this character a disservice at this point.
I agree. If he's supposed to be the voice of reason, like, okay, that's fine, but who is he?
Yeah.
There has to be more to him than that. And right now we don't have
no one that we are ever going to learn about.
Which is
I feel like we're going to be talking about it every week. More Aki, and we don't get it. So
we're going to be like, and who's this Aki kid? Nobody knows.
No, we know he's always polite because Gideon was like, oh, always the kind, always polite. Mm-hmm. He's the polite voice of reason who is sexually confused. That's all we got.
We're in episode 5. I still wonder what the minions' motivation are, and I still wonder who is Aki.
I know. Yeah. Luna had a little bit of a change of heart, though, like speaking of the minions and who they are. But I do need her and Monet to have more of a backstory and more of who their motivations, exactly what you were saying, Keiki. Why are they doing what they do? You know, why are they making the choices they make?
Mhm.
We have nothing.
What's the game? You know?
Mhm. What's the end game?
I
What's the
feel
end
like
game?
they're on the road to giving us that, though. I feel like they gave us that conflict, and now that Monet and Luna are separated at this point in time, I feel like there might, like maybe in the next episode, they might, now it's all about Monet and Luna separated and what it's like with them. I think that could be a really good character development episode for the two of them, if they do it.
Yeah. If that's the thing, if they do it.
Yeah.
Was there anything that we missed that you guys want to talk about on this episode? Check your notes, check your thoughts, go through the files in your brain.
Billy Porter.
Oh yeah, Billy Porter. He was performing at this Halloween party. It was like Halloween, right? So I was like, is this sponsored by Hulu? I don't know.
I would hope not, because it's on HBOMax.
I know, exactly. So I was like, maybe there's an extension. I don't know. But yeah, I was like, Billy Porter performed, and I thought that was really cute, and what a fun touch to put in the show, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it worked a lot better than the performance in the last
see a little
episode.
celebrity.
Oh, sorry, you guys were talking at the same time. One more time.
You go, Shawn.
I just thought it was a lot better than the...
She did it on purpose.
I did on purpose. I just wanted to be funny.
I thought it was better than the last performance in the 4th episode.
Fair, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Prince Nokia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It's always good to like throw a little celebrity in here. You got HBO money, make HBO worth shows.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But every time I say HBO, I think like about the fact that they do Euphoria, which is such like a dead-on crazy kid show, and they can't execute Gossip Girl.
I know.
I'm confused.
I know. That's a really good point, Keiki, because that's what I was expecting from this show to be like Gossip Girl, but like Euphoria style. Like the Euphoria got it dead on, and I feel like this show it's doing a little bit better. I really loved this episode. I thought that this was probably the best episode out of all 5, but it still has a way to go.
Yeah, I think episode's 3. I think it was 3. It's still my favorite. This is my second favorite. So I thought this was a pretty strong episode. I think, isn't next week the mid-season finale? Because they're like splitting up their season strangely. So next week, mid-season finale, we will be here to talk about it. And then we'll be back in the fall whenever they release that, because they haven't given us dates.
Why?
So we'll see. Why? I don't know. I think it's strange too. Just like give me the whole show. I feel like it's got to be rewrites and reshoots. And if it's not, well, why not?
I just hope it ends well. Like it just doesn't feel like it feels like a finale, not like they're just splitting a season in half because they don't have anything to air at the end of the year. You know?
Yeah.
Like I hope it's got like a good crescendo, because right now we've spent so much time on setup of all these characters and none of us really care about them yet. And I feel like something bad, make a bad or make a good, needs to happen for us to be like, okay, Gossip Girl.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's on the edge. It's like right there. It's so close to being such a good show. And it's just not hitting the mark yet.
I mean, the 4th episode was down here, and I feel like the 5th episode is up here. So
at least
it got back a little bit. We got a little bit.
We are crawling uphill. Like I can say that we are going uphill. I will give you that. Like if I would have left after the 1st episode, it could have easily happened. Now I'm a little invested, but like when I say a little, I mean like a little. You know,
she's like, I'm invested enough to do this conversation with you guys, but not fully pay attention, but be here.
Like I'm here, but like, am I really here? And really, it's just like, I'm here to like gossip girl about Gossip Girl.
Awesome. Well, if that's all we got, guys, we could ramble forever, but I will not torture everyone watching. We will see you next week for the mid-season finale. And guys, one more time, who are you? Where can they find you?
I'm Shawn from Lost in the Reel. You can find me on YouTube. That's my main channel where I talk about movies and television shows, and Lost in the Reel on YouTube, or on Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you.
All the things.
I'm Keiki. You can find me on social media if you want to be a stalker at The Life of Keiki, but I will always be here at Smells Like Teen Angst, giving you my opinion on all things teen and angsty.
Yes. And I am Sarah here with Smells Like Teen Angst. Make sure you thumbs up this video, comment your thoughts. We love your comments. We always reply and we post some of them. Make sure you subscribe to Lost in the Reel and Smells Like Teen Angst and ring the bell so you don't miss any more angsty videos. Until next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.